Motherhood is a state of being a mother and the roles that come with it. Motherhood comes complete with an emotional roller coaster ride that has no manual at all. Hi, this is Clarity Coach Lucy, and this is Tuesday Talks at 3. Welcome to Motherhood May. Now, this May on Tuesday Talks at 3, we continue to celebrate mothers and seek to understand their journeys and the meaning that they give to motherhood. It is so important that we wear their shoes. When we wear their shoes, we understand their comings and their goings. We understand the challenges. Like I have mentioned, it comes complete with an emotional roller coaster, a roller coaster ride that has no manual at all. So there's nobody who has written something out there and told you, you do this, you follow on to this, and you follow on to a third thing. So definitely it's a journey. It's a journey of joys. It's a journey of sadness. It's a journey of confusion. And therefore, when we speak with one another and share stories like what we're going to do today, we are able to have a deeper understanding of these journeys. And in addition, the meaning that mothers give it to them. Because when the mothers give the meaning to motherhood, it then becomes their journey. It becomes their reality. It becomes something that is in them, like in their DNA, something so beautiful that can only be experienced on an individual level as a mother when you're giving out. Now, the journeys that we seek to understand in this episode of Motherhood May were 5. We started off with balancing motherhood and career. And our takeaway was that self-care must be a priority. Even as we juggle and we look for this elusive balance between motherhood and career, we must take care of self. And this is important. We need to enroll a support system and stop trying to be perfect. We moved on to the next one, which was blended motherhood. And in blended motherhood, it was about seeking to understand how to thrive in this setting. It is the modern world. We have families coming together that do not have biological children or biological parents, but this is a group of people living together under one household with 2 guardians or maybe even 1 guardian. Whatever the case, it is a mixture of people coming together. And in that mix, there is a mother. So how do you thrive in this setting? Different values, different priorities. And we found women who have lived in this environment for over 20 years. And we had beautiful stories that were shared here. Our third motherhood journey was the choice of single motherhood. Now, this one was about demystifying the stigma and understanding that journey. What an amazing session it was as we looked at the joys of being a single mother. Then we went into motherhood-in-law, the dreaded motherhood-in-law. It was all about navigating this delicate season, again, demystifying the dreadedness of motherhood-in-law. It was about building a long and trusting relationship with your children-in-law. Well, today's session is no different. Today is about community motherhood. And we have a question, which is, how have you impacted your community as a mother? Please share your thoughts and contribution here on the live chat, and we will sample them. I'm just going to check that indeed we are live. We are live indeed. And just to ensure that the message is coming across loud and clear. Okay. Seems I'm not able to see it, that we are live, so we want to be able to correct that. Okay, we try one more time. And we are looking to see that indeed we are live. Technology. And yes, we are live, and we have been live for the last 4 minutes. Fantastic. Welcome, Nancy. We see there's already somebody online watching today. It's about community motherhood. And the question is, how have you impacted your community as a mother? What does it mean for you, community? Just share with us your thoughts and contribution here on the live chat, and we will sample them with my guests. Well, statistics show that 82% of social workers are women. That is a huge percentage. Now, social motherhood represents the ideology that women are helpers and that they will take care of the society. Now, that is a very beautiful thought because women are nurturers by nature. Now, my guest today has written a children's book. And this children's book is called Bubbles and Mr. Toad. And this is one of the tools that she uses to impact her community. This is her contribution. Her name is Catherine Silva, and she's with us here today. Catherine, welcome to Tuesday Talks at 3. And thank you so much, Catherine, for accepting our invite today. Welcome.
Thank you.
Good to have you here. You know, Catherine, the old saying is, it takes a village to raise a child. And this has been slowly overtaken by our modern lives. You know, it's like my child, my choice, my rules, my decisions, so to speak. How have you managed, Catherine, within your community to offer guidance?
Thank you. Thank you for having me, and thank you for that. I love the topic guidance. First of all, what is guidance? I normally go about guidance by saying guidance versus discipline. When we're looking at guidance as a parent, what I look at and encourage a lot is when I'm doing work within the community, I see children or youth that need more guidance than discipline itself. And discipline, yes, is necessary because overall, what is discipline? Discipline is abiding by rules. This is what needs to be done. So for example, if I need to apply for a passport, there's certain rules I need to follow. So that's a certain discipline to follow. But when we're looking at guidance when it comes to children and youth and each other as adults, guidance is where we solve problems. So we can say we have a child that has been labeled problematic and they have a particular issue, and just disciplining them is not going to change that child or help them to improve, because we are looking at improving everyone with whatever we feel needs to be improved, because we are all not both perfect. So on a start, for me, guidance is what is the most important in that sense when it comes to problem solving, or when we're bringing up children and want solutions for things that we think may be problems or challenges for children. So one, I encourage as a mother, let's look at guiding, because a lot of times, I think you would also, if you were to think back, when you were disciplined, when you're really young, did you always know what exactly you did wrong? You broke a rule, but was it very clear? I know I was very talkative, and I think it got to help me later in my life. But was being talkative a bad thing? Or could I be guided on when to be talkative and when not to be talkative?
I like that. I like that. Oh.
So when it comes to guidance, for me, I feel that's more important. So we know, yes, we've broken this rule, but this is what needs to change, because we are, following through. And once we speak of guidance, then, for example, a child will now be more self-aware. They will have self-confidence, self-love, because we're not condemning, but we are guiding on. For you, I think this is the direction and this is what you need to do. So overall, we'll have a more happier community.
That is so true, because the community then is not only made up of the people that we have in our homes. The community is all out there. And I've always loved that old saying that it takes a village to raise a child. But like I was mentioning, in our modern lives, it's totally different now, Catherine. We're in a situation where we have either one person with the responsibility of raising a child, or two people with the responsibility of raising a child. And call me old school, but aunties, uncles, grandparents are the support system. And most of the time we are leaving our children with this support system. So this becomes the community. The community even goes beyond this, where we go into children's homes or into schools, into settings where we have other people and other mothers too. So I love what you've given as an example of guiding versus discipline, where we're looking at explaining to the child whatever it is that they could have done wrong and guiding them when it is they could be showing up. I absolutely love it. And I was reading somewhere when I was preparing for this about, in our modern lives now, we are leading more with the head than we are with the heart. And why do I say this? And why did it resonate with me, Catherine? Because we are relying on rules. You gave a good example of, if we wanted to go and get a passport, there are certain rules and structure that we follow. But then when we are relying on these rules, when we're talking about children or the community or being a mother, it then forces us just to follow the rules with our head and not our heart. And therefore, I came away with that particular piece that I was reading, that we need to be flexible. We need to be in tune. We need to be sensitive. We need to more of rely on guidance. So I'm loving it. What about other women in the community? How have you guided them, or how would you recommend that we go along making an impact in the community? And while you're thinking of that answer, I can see that Nancy has shared a response to today's question, because today's question was, how have you impacted your community as a mother? And Nancy today says, I have engaged through the Bible study in our home for the past 5 years as a guide for my children's lives and generations to come. Wow. Catherine, what is your comment on that?
That's amazing, because she's consciously doing this to make a difference. Yes, she has dedicated all that time to make a difference in her home and her community. And speaking towards the question that you asked me is exactly that when you say, how do you impact women in your community, or how have I impacted women in the community, it doesn't have to be like a big deal. If you're able to do something big, that's great. But it can be the smallest thing that you can offer other women, such as guidance, such as, advice, a connection, a contact, a discussion, a bit of time, listening with empathy. You can make, I believe everyone can make a difference in the smallest of ways. And we underestimate those small things, and they really make a difference in our community, because you never know who needs just a shoulder to cry on, or to have a conversation, or just needs to be guided on a very basic problem. But for you at that time, when you have a problem, it's a very difficult problem.
Yes.
So for me, within the community, as an author of the children's book, which I have here, let me just Bubbles and Mr. Toad.
Yes.
This book came out 10 years after I had drafted it, because life happens, time, illustrating it, giving it out, and we all have a bit of the self-doubt. I'm not sure how this book will be accepted. Is it good work? And when it came out 10 years later, it came out during COVID, when COVID-19 had just been announced. And so with this book, apart from it accompanying the donation drives that I do towards shelters for different people, children, gender-based violence survivors, young ladies, teenage girls, youth, this book is part of the workshop, because I wrote this book wanting to teach certain values to our children, that we always say, watoto wa siku hizi, they are like this. These days, they are like that. We just say that and we leave it at that. But these are our children. This is our future. So what are we doing about it? Yes, they are like that, but what are we doing about it? So I thought, let me write books that will give out values we feel we need them to use on their life's journey. And so this book teaches a lot of things. And two things I say, it teaches you to be brave and to be kind, and using that at the same time. So I use it to mentor women at these shelters, young girls, teenage girls. We do workshops where we go through the book and discuss about life and having hope and being determined. And just that time makes a difference in your own way. So even if you're making a meal for your neighbor who doesn't have dinner, that's making an impact. We don't have to wait for a big thing to make an impact. So
I love that. I just love that, Catherine. The fact that you are actually emphasizing on, no matter how small it is, choose to be intentional and make an impact within your community. And I love the roles that you have. I mean, every time I look down, I'm taking down notes, just putting them down. I'm just going to read some that I caught. And these are like what I was talking about in the beginning when I was defining motherhood and saying that it's a state of being a mother and the roles that come with it. There are many roles for a mother. And that's when you know that you have a motherly girl person in the room. Guidance is what we have been talking about in this section. You talked about listening. I mean, listening is something else. You see it all over the place. Mothers tend to listen. Now, when you see a mother who perhaps is a bit abrupt with her children or with people, perhaps she is going through something at that moment, but doesn't mean she didn't hear what you said. It's a natural thing for a woman to do. She's listening. That is a role. You're a listener. Yeah. You're a teacher. I like that, teaching. And so who are we teaching again in this community? Who are we reaching out to? Advice, giving advice. This is the role of a mother. No matter in what situation you're in, people are turning to you for advice. I mean, I remember with my mother, me also grown up, and may her soul rest in perfect peace, I would be in the kitchen cooking with her, and I would say, should we add salt? Well, Catherine, who said I don't know whether I should add salt? I know what it tastes like. But that again, just turning to the mother, the person that you see as a mother in the room at that time. And that's advice, connection. I loved when you said connection. Women are connectors. I know so-and-so who can do this, who can do that. I need to have my child to do holiday school. I have a connection for you. I need to braid my daughter's hair. I have a connection for you. I need to take my son to this college to do this course. I have a connection for you. But there's one thing that you pointed out that also rings very true. Despite us being powerful in our roles, we have self-doubt. And you brought it out so well. The self-doubt, like we say in Kenyanese, is true story. Self-doubt is true story. So true. Yeah. And your comment to Nancy's comment, where Nancy is mentioning that she has done this Bible study in her home for the past 5 years, that you say she's made a conscious decision and intentional decision for her to do this. Yeah, it is beautiful. So every moment that we have with our children is important. So great. I'm loving where our conversation is going today. As we look at the community is not only other women. It is also about our children. It's about anybody else within there. However, Catherine, what is your contribution when we talk about how we can communicate to fellow women? Because at times when we communicate to one another, we inadvertently just end up being judgmental, Catherine.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I don't know why we default this way. We are faster to attack each other than anyone else. And But the society is changing, the world is changing. We are learning and unlearning certain things.
Yes.
And we see it every day on the media, that what is changing on how we approach each other as women. And for me, I've had very good experiences. I've also had negative experiences, but there has been progress in that. And I feel, well, the older way would be, for example, we're watching a young girl with a baby and we're like, look at what she's doing. Oh gosh, did she just do that? That's wrong. But we're just watching. Eh? No one has gone and offered and guided and told her, maybe you should use this, or this is not good for the child, because that's how it was. We look from afar, we judge and point fingers and make a decision like, oh my goodness, I wouldn't do that. But what we need to do as women is we need to realize we are all women and we're all in this pool, and we need to build each other up, help each other, guide each other. And there should be no other way about it. We are all sisters. So I would take this, like, for example, even at work. I mean, you'd maybe find a lady struggling that morning to do her role because there's something that's really impacted her. We can't just say, oh, she needs to just pack her up and be strong. Maybe she needs to be spoken to, or we need to have empathy. When we lead, we need to lead with empathy. So the conversation women need to have with each other is a bit more gentle. We need to be less aggressive and judgmental of each other, because the whole world has been created to judge us as it is. Yes. So we need to give each other chances.
Yeah. I mean, you've just pointed out another two roles right there: empathy and being gentle with one another. Very important. Coming back to the analogy of the village, that it takes a village to raise a child. Before we go there, I can see Catherine Giroux has joined us. Welcome. And you say hello, everybody. Hello, Catherine.
Hello, namesake.
And we see Kavi has joined us. Great to have you here. Today we are talking about community motherhood. And the question is quite simple today. It is, how have you impacted your community as a mother? And her name is Nancy, was running out of my head. Nancy has commented about what she has done with her children persistently over the last 5 years. And this is how she is impacting not only her community, but her children, but the future generation. I mean, she's thinking beyond what she's doing with her children in her home, which is really powerful. So just going back to, it takes a village to raise a child. And as we say, it is being slowly overtaken by the modern world. In the old days, when this was really true for everybody, and using the analogy that you had just now about a woman who's breastfeeding, and as fellow women in the community, we tend to stand back and then comment and judge as opposed to helping. And more of this is becoming apparent, where we want to help and we are getting all these platforms where we can help. However, if you look at the olden times, that situation would never have happened, because this person would have already been with other people's children in the community, in the village setting. They would have been with their nieces, nephews. They would have been with the neighbors' children, children from another village. And therefore, they would have been with women who are lactating, women who are birthing, women who are taking care of children. So this particular woman, it would be coming just as, very normal. That's the word I want to use. It'll be a natural thing. It is happening with her now. And she knows that even though she could be struggling, she just needs to look over to where Catherine is seated or where Lucy is seated and get that assistance. And this is perhaps what we really need to bring back when we're talking about motherhood in the community. You also mentioned about the office setting. It's the same thing. In the village, while we were working, again, we had the support of other women. We watched and we learned. We listened and we learned. We knew why things were done in a certain way. But then again, the modernity of life, this is progress. We're not going to put it aside. We're just asking that as we have these talks, we have more and more of them to make women realize that they're not alone, that they can get help. So I'm loving it. So far we've got guidance, listening, teaching, advice, connection. We've got empathy and about being gentle. Thank you so much, Catherine. But how about mentorship for children in the community? How do we go about mentoring children in the community? What has been your experience?
Mentorship needs to be in the hands of all of us. Mentorship should not be that Lucy is a professional coach, so she can mentor the whole world for us and all the girls that she knows. We need to take responsibility of mentorship as all of us. You can mentor your niece, you can mentor your nephew, you can mentor at work. How many people have had experiences working in maybe a particular brand that they can guide the younger generation coming into that organization. It is important because we should not take for granted experience, and mentorship comes from that, what we've learned through experience. How do we want the youth to go through the same hurdles and problems that some they could have avoided with our mentorship? So mentorship is a big deal. Like I said earlier, I use the book to also mentor. And from the beginning, when I started working in the corporate world, I started very young. And, I just started as a clerk, and I was working here and there, and I was learning for myself. But I found myself in tears a lot of times because of small mistakes I had made. And there was no one really, helping out, but maybe letting me fall into these puddles where I feel, this, I could have maybe done things faster or smarter. And so as I started growing and went into management, I promised myself one thing: I do not meet youth, young girls and young guys with talent, and I do not mentor or guide them unless they're clearly like, hey, I'm not interested. But most of the time, there's a way to mentor and guide. And when you look at the talent at them, it's hard enough to just say, wow, you're really talented at this. You should go in this direction. You do really well at this, or you need to improve that, or why do you never smile? That's mentorship. But being involved with the people you're with, if it's within a community, within family, within work, it's really important. And so for me, I consciously took up mentorship. I have mentored and worked and partnered with people who today help me as volunteers within my donation drive, because we met each other. They're now moms and seniors, but we met a long time ago and have guided each other through. And you see, mentorship, when you do your part, it also comes back to you. They could mentor you on something, because everyone becomes an expert in their own area. So I think mentorship needs to be a community thing, not like, just you need to find a coach. Yes, Lucy, I'm not saying what you do is not important. Yes, the professional need is there, but can we take initiative and do something? That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah. Mentorship, you are right, is very important. And I like that you say we should all take it into our hands and be able to mentor whoever we have within our circle, because this is our circle of influence. We can make it better. There's a comment that you made in the beginning where you said, nowadays we are more likely to say that the children of nowadays are like this, and we leave it there. We don't give solutions. So this is a solution already that you're giving, Catherine, and you are living it, which is amazing. And when we live it, it comes back to you, Catherine. You can already see in your programs, your shelter and your programs, donation drives, the people who are working with you are a result of the mentoring. So you're never left alone. This is a part of you. That must be so fulfilling, Catherine. There's something else that you talked about, experience. Now, a mother has experience. So this is one of the roles that she steps into. Motherhood does not come with a manual, but each mother then gets experience from the things that she has gone through. So when we are mentoring in a community, we are most probably mentoring from experiential places. Something that I have gone through, I have seen, I have experienced, or I know
Yes,
somebody else has seen and experienced. Exactly, yeah. That is what we end up doing. And there's one thing that you mentioned, if we are not mentored, then we are ill-equipped to be able to handle things in life. So it's powerful, Catherine. You are in a great place, and I just take my hat off to you for the things that you are doing. I have a comment here from Nancy. Thank you so much, Nancy, for engaging today. You are saying we can mentor children in the community by simply correcting wrong behavior and pointing the children in the right direction, of course, while still being gentle and kind toward them. What do you think about that comment, Catherine?
Yes, I think that's exactly the balance I'm speaking about, that we will correct bad behavior, but continue to guide them towards change, a balance that is a win-win for both.
Yeah. And the child feels heard. The child feels seen. Because what happens, and it's something that happens a lot when it comes to the absence of mentorship, where parents, mothers or fathers, but today we're talking about motherhood, where mothers decide for their children what they are going to be. And when you make this decision, you are coming from a place of love. However, the questions are many.
Yes.
Have you had a conversation with this child? Have you taken a moment and been flexible and in tune and sensitive to the things that they have been showing you? I mean, this child could be showing you that they're good with the arts, but perhaps your upbringing is more academic, and therefore you want the best for this child. You're coming from a place of love, and therefore you keep on steering them towards the academics of A and A+. And this child is literally losing their spirit, their soul, because they want to please you, but they're unable to because their capability is in the arts. And if you would listen and watch this child, you'll realize that if you gave them things to do with their hands, things to do with their voice, things to dance with their body or organize functions, then they will come into their full potential. So as parents, when it comes to mentorship, and as mothers, we need to be very wary of doing things out of love, but then again, not having a balance of seeing how is it sitting with this child. What do you think about that, Catherine?
Yeah, I totally agree. We come from a point of love. This is point of also what we were taught growing up. And yes, there were positives and negatives for everyone growing up, but you have to always rethink that upbringing when it comes to now your child and the next generation. So like you're saying, if you come from a family that feels, for example, they're all doctors and we need to, next generation also needs to be doctors. But you see, life has changed. You have to stop and think, what does this child want? Have you engaged them? Have you really listened and heard what they love or what they think they should do or why they don't like that profession? So we come from a point of love because it's our perspective that this is the right way, but it's not about only our perspective. We're there to mentor, to guide, to bring them up, but they are human beings and they have a perspective. They need to be heard as well.
Yeah. I usually do a bit of mentoring, and I was doing some mentoring again this past week, and I mentor the youth, and we were talking about financials and just mentoring them on the different things that we can do in life. And I wished that during my time, there was somebody to sit in a platform like this and talk to us and tell us about things like this, mentoring us in the right direction. And up to this moment, I've got these students, youth, they were between the ages of 19 and 21, still texting me as follow-up of the conversation that we had. I bring this up because we also have a belief that the world is going to teach you, and therefore we want our children to be taught by the world. And for me, that means that I am absconding from my duty as a mother. Some conversations are hard to have because I may not be the perfect role model, perhaps when it comes to finances. You know, I might be telling them about finances, and it could just be that now I want to live my life through them, for whichever way that they see it. Where have you seen, Catherine, successes when you have mentored children, youth, or women?
Yeah, thank you. First, I want to comment on what you were saying, that that it has changed, and for me, where I have seen successes is I've had a lot of comments. There's a time, a young girl, I had just done a session on self-acceptance as you are. Some time back, I took part in a virtual pageant, and I won in the category that I took part in the classic category, which was for people who are 40 plus, and it was a pageant of substance, but it also included, you know, the beauty area. And this pageant was about all shapes, all sizes, all heights. And, you know, I'm not above 5'2", and I'm not quite the smallest of size. So I'm just not as what a typical supermodel model size would be. And so I was talking about this online, and it was to young girls about, you know, self-love and accepting yourself, looking at where you do want to improve and what you can improve, and just reality, because at the end of the day, you're left with yourself. And I was talking about it after I had just had my daughter, who's 3 years old now. And I joined this pageant when I had just had her. So, you know, it comes with everything else, the extra flab, the stretch marks and all that. And this young girl messages me and tells me, she was a young, beautiful girl, 22 years old. And she says, your talk really, really inspired me. Thank you for sharing your number. I was feeling suicidal about myself before the talk. And I actually hate myself. I think I'm ugly, all the things. I can't stand myself. But from what you explained and from who you are and what you are doing to stand up there and be in the pageant and all that sort of thing, she said, I feel inspired. So we kept in touch. We kept in touch because, of course, mainly I wanted to see that she's okay and doesn't do anything to herself. But also, she's a young girl and she has a whole life ahead of her. She has talent. There's stuff about her that she should celebrate. So that's one aspect where you don't really realize you're doing your session, you're reading, we're doing the book reading, but you don't really realize how you've touched a young person and they were struggling at that very time. And that's why when you say mentoring women in the community, and that's why I say gentle, we need to be kinder to each other because we don't know what you're going through at that very moment.
Yes, this is very true. And the youth today have a lot of challenges, and usually it's about self-identity and the life that they should be living versus the life that they're living. And in that space, they find a lot of confusion. They find it very difficult to deal with their real situation. And they actually are so blind to the fact that they can use whatever they have here today to make their lives better and what they are looking for, as opposed to living a life that, or aspiring for a life that they think they should be living. There's such a farce and a fraud in that part. That life that you should be living does not exist. You need to use what you have here and now, and you'll be so amazed if you come up with an attitude of gratitude. There's so much to be grateful for.
I agree.
Do you communicate that, Catherine?
Yeah. One thought is, as parents, I think we should also be open to being open about what our weaknesses are. I know traditionally this is not an option. And I've had this discussion at talks where maybe some people want to beat me up about that. But the thing is, you know, for example, let me give myself as example. So I said I'm not the smallest and the healthiest, but if I'm struggling with that, I can't just tell my children, eat healthy. I need to tell them, for example, mom struggles with this because she doesn't do this right, but I don't want you to have this problem. So you need to reduce this, and not be where I am at the mistake. We have this mentality that, oh my goodness, if I admit I've made a mistake or there's something wrong with me, my children will look down on me or not listen to me. But they're smart. This generation they know all your weaknesses. They don't tell you, but they know. So it's really, they know it. So instead of it coming out in an argument where they're like slamming the door at you, it is important to speak about these things. I even know parents where they are having a problem with alcohol. They're alcoholics, and they say, I'm struggling with this, but I have tried to teach and bring up my children knowing that I'm struggling with this, and this is how I ended up like this. So it's okay to do that, because it's leading by example, but true example.
True example. You're being authentic. That's the word I was looking for. You're being authentic, Catherine, in the examples that you are sharing, because in you being vulnerable and accepting there's something that you are struggling with, then it is easier for the youth of today to relate to where you're coming from. And you're right. They are very clever. They're very intelligent is the word. Clever comes across as being conniving, but they're very intelligent in they can see what you're struggling with. I remember that my father struggled with alcoholism, but we never had that conversation. He was a fun guy, a guy to love, and we could see, but then he never brought it up. But in today's world, I have actually explained to my children as they were growing up as teenagers, I said that in my family line, there is alcoholism. So this is something that I am very aware of, and I want to ensure that I stay on top of things, and I don't fall into this rat hole of alcoholism. And of course, my children then took a realization to this, that this could also happen to them. So they are very conscious of it. So you are right. And I think there we have lost Catherine for a minute. But just talking about us and having conversations that are difficult, I can see that here Alice Njambi says, yes, some conversations may be hard to have, but it's imperative to have these conversations. Welcome back, Catherine. We're just talking about having that difficult conversation and just being vulnerable. So yes, so in my case, I've talked about it with my children, and they are just conscious of the fact that they could also be falling into that rat hole or rabbit hole, as we call it.
Yes.
And so they just maintain a consciousness, but it only starts with the mother or the parent. But today we're talking about motherhood, sharing their vulnerability. So thank you so much for sharing. That's very true. So Alice, we agree with you. These conversations have to be had, and we need to find a way. So as mothers, we have kind ways, sensitive ways that we can use, which are part of our roles and our characteristics, to bring up topics. I have also found in cases where I was feeling a bit uncomfortable having a conversation at an earlier time of my daughter's teenagehood, I brought in my girlfriends. And because they don't have the responsibility of being mother to her, the conversation was flowing better. And my daughter would come home, and then we would have the conversation. So they opened up the door for me, and I was able now to have a comfortable conversation with my daughter. So community motherhood is important. The way we help each other, women, and with our children, the youth. Kavi says, true to self, living the truth. Very true. We need to be true to self and live our truth, because our children are very intelligent. Now, once we're there, we are looking at another thing that you have talked about, which is something to do with motherhood, and this is self-acceptance. We struggle as mothers on self-acceptance. We feel that we fall short of the glory of being called a mother, and hence we underestimate the power that we have in the community. Well, Catherine, I'm sure that you join your voice with me as we now say to everybody listening here, take back your power.
Yes.
You are powerful women. And
we are powerful.
Yes, we are powerful. And we can and must impact our community. We must be intentional in doing this. I can see we've been joined by Liz Ayani. Great to see you here, Liz. Oh, lovely. Keep on communicating with us, engage with us. Our question for today is actually a very simple question. We are hoping that you will have time to answer this question, which is, how have you impacted your community as a mother? Share with us here on the live chat and we will sample them. Well, I have been wanting to get to this section about your book Bubbles and Mr. Toad. You touched something about shelters at a certain time of our discussion. You touched something about donation drives. Tell us more about your book.
So this book came out, I said I drafted it 10 years back, and I didn't say why I brought it out later. I said being unsure and that sort of thing. But the story is very interesting because my mom reminded me about this book. And I had like maybe trashed it thinking, oh my goodness, I'll do it one day. Mom is bothering me. And she reminded me. And that's already one example of women building each other. She sees a gift that I don't see, and she sees value in something in me that I don't see, how we can encourage each other as women. And she reminded me, and I worked on it and did it, and did not think the impact it would have. And by doing readings, I visited different places, but there's a shelter I visited was for teenage girls who are victims or survivors of gender-based violence. And these are girls who are pregnant, not by choice, and they have kept their children to age and given birth, but they live in this shelter. They fled from their families. They live in this shelter to be safe, and also because it supports them to go to school as their children are looked after, meaning that their futures have not been stopped. They are still building themselves. So we did a reading on this book, and the book is very much about Bubbles, who is brave. She has a dream, and she tries. She fails and she tries again, and she gets encouraged by an elder. Mr. Toad is an elder, and he gives her advice. This is where experience comes in. So he mentors her in his own way, and she is successful in the end in what she wanted to do, and she does not forget her friends and where she came from, and brings them to where she is and where she has achieved. So it is all about what we're discussing, actually, guidance, and not forgetting where you come from, and being kind and brave at the same time. So with this book, when I was doing that reading back to the girls, many of them at some point, it was one of my very first readings, they cheered and they clapped. All these teenage girls who have had children, but they are still young girls inside. And they clapped and they were so happy, and they spoke about that they are so determined, they will also try. And I was so touched by their determination. I mean, we in our situation, and they're in worse circumstances, would give up and say, oh, I give up on this. But they're out there saying, I'm going to do this. I want to be a doctor. I'm going to be a designer. I'm going to do this. So the book brought out such a different aspect from just being a children's book. It gave values to the community of what I had wanted, but it was just blessed in that way. I cannot say I mapped out the journey perfectly, but it just happened.
Yeah, isn't that powerful that a children's book touched the youth? I believe, Catherine, it's the simplicity in which you wrote the book, so someone could understand it and then they could apply it in their lives, because at times things are too complicated in life. So you presented a simplicity version to a group of young women who had their lives against all odds, pitched against them, and this is why they received you so well. And look who gets fulfilled in the end. It's you, because you, the giver, end up getting so fulfilled by their reaction. You're even shocked.
Exactly.
Yeah, you're even shocked.
And you see, in return, they give me the confidence that it's a good book and there's something there in what I've written. So when you reach out to help others, you're helping yourself indirectly.
Yes. Yes, and you added in something there again, which we are still looking for characteristics and the roles of motherhood. And it was about encouragement, the encouragement that we give as mothers, the building one another. Incidentally, my tagline is help build one another, and it's one of my sign-off tunes. And this is because as mothers, this is what we are doing. We are nurturers. And therefore, we need to help build one another as opposed to breaking down one another. I keep on referring to adjusting crowns and being able to help one another. And I think Lisa Yani here has made a comment. And she says, I once took a girl who was about to be messed up by a bunch of boys at a hotel I was staying in. I took her with me to my room and made her sleep on the couch in my room. You should have seen the rage from the young men. I had to involve the security and lied that she was my niece, as she was too high. I guess that was intoxication. Huh? Some conversations I'm struggling with, but what I have to let them know, I do. Yes, we will struggle with conversations. And you say, also give talks to girls in my home area whenever I'm up country. Thank you so much, Liz. This is how you are impacting the community. You're not sitting back and watching and hoping somebody else could do something for the girl or about the boys. Neither are you waiting for the government to do it. You are stepping in and doing it. And yes, you are impacting your community. Thank you so much for sharing. So you talk about reaching out to others. Because of this book, you have managed to reach out to others. Tell us about your donation drives, Catherine.
All right. First, thank you, Liz, for being that sister. Yeah, that's what we need. You have no idea that one move you did, what it's done for her life. And if you didn't, what it would have done to her life as well. So with the donation drive, I decided that how can I help during the pandemic? So I sent out a request to those who have items that they don't need, you know, like when we're clearing out our homes and there's stuff we don't need, but it's difficult to put it all together and say, I'll go and drop it at a home at some point and to get the time to do it. So what I did is said, anything that is your trash is someone else's luxury. So just give me a call or email me. I will collect it. So I collect all the stuff that people don't need and break it down towards the different homes. So like if I collect a lot of babies' clothes, that goes to a children's home. If I collect a lot of sweaters for older people, it will go to an old people's home. So I have managed to do that with different shelters. And while doing that, I request for donations for sanitary towels, diapers, baby milk, and you get people just offering to bring certain things and help the different shelters. So this just started that way and has grown to what I call joy drops. So we do joy drops every once a month to support those who need the support. And with these joy drops, we've also supported it's called Salama Center for Survivors of Gender-Based Violence. And it's a mentorship hub as well. And it was created by the Girl Child Network, who appointed me as an ambassador to help raise funds and work with them. And I have been sent a lot of things that have also gone to that center to furnish and help those that are there. So that's more or less what it is. And those who come in, anyone can volunteer to come on a day I'm having a joy drop. And those people within my circles who keep in touch and say, you know, we want to just join in. And they bring something. Some bake a cake, some bring teddy bears that they had and have never given out. And, you know, we make it a fun and happy event when we go for a joy drop.
Yeah, well, motherhood. The one thing that you have brought out there without actually saying the word is that you are a nurturer. You're a nurturer in the community, Catherine. And I mean, we celebrate you today, definitely, with what you have shared with us. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much. I know that Liz,
Thank you,
who is
Lucy.
here, you're most welcome. It's very overwhelming for me to imagine how you are impacting the society, the community. And there's all these opportunities that I know Liz is in CSR, and these are things that Liz loves. And I'm very sure that she's going to want to know how to contact you, if she could join you when it comes to the Joy Drops. I'm very sure Lisa Yanni would be interested. If you could share with us your contact by dropping a message for us on the Facebook chat, would really appreciate that. Yes, Liz comes back and says, being a mother of boys, I have some clothes for a men's home. Now you see, I said to you, Liz is CSR. This is her second name. It runs in her blood, and she does this so effortlessly. Even when she does not have, Liz will figure it out. She will get us to get stuff, and then we will send it off. Thank you so much for sharing that. So, just looking at what we have gone through today, we've looked at looking at guidance and what guidance means. We've looked at mentoring and what mentoring means, and we've looked at your book. And maybe what people don't realize is that your book is for the age group between 0 and 12 years. And just the reading of this story touches people. This book is also about overcoming discouragement. And because it is written in such simplicity for children, even as adults, we can relate to the overcoming of discouragement, because we face discouragement in our lives. So let's just look at a few takeaways, because I never leave without any takeaways, so that we can relate to what people want to do when they go home. And one takeaway is making an impact or making a difference in our community. And Catherine, you mentioned to me earlier on, it doesn't have to be only material. Tell us more about that.
We all have talent, we all have experiences, so you can make an impact in the smallest of ways. And I want to urge, especially to women in the community, to mothers, don't be discouraged by the fact that you're a helper, you're a nurturer, that you're kind, that you're gentle, that you're good, because we tend to make the qualities of being brash and tough and not kind being strength. Don't feel that that is not strength. I struggled for a long time thinking, why do you want to help all the time? Is it a good thing? Am I weak? No, it is strength. Being a nurturing woman is strength. And so in the smallest of ways, you can always impact someone. Share a connection, a contact, make a meal for someone, a phone call away. That is all making a difference. Impacting your community does not have to be a big funded thing. It comes from each one of us, the small things that matter.
Yeah, thank you for expounding on that, because it is important. Many a time when we are approached in CSR, so we give of things in our homes, or we give of things that we have shopped and we send, and at times we don't even show up at the CSR homes. However, that is us helping somebody outside. What about within ourselves? Being able to impact that community, making that phone call to that friend who you haven't heard from in a long time. She may need, or he may need, to hear your message on that day. Popping into somebody's house, maybe on that particular day, like Catherine was sharing about the young girl. That person was feeling suicidal, but your presence there gave them hope. This is what we mean by making an impact in whatever small way that you have, and it doesn't have to be material. Material is good. It puts food on the table, it puts clothes on our backs, it puts a shelter over our heads, but also emotionally in today's world of mental wellness is very important. The second one is mentorship, and making mentorship a duty. And I think Catherine has really expounded on that. We should all be mentors. As I'm speaking, I'm seeing Catherine Giroux has said, let us know where we can get her book. She's a blessing to many. Well done. Well, Catherine, when you get onto our chat, please put in your contact, how we can get the book, and what Joy Drops is all about. The last one is role model. that we have to be a role model. We have to speak our truths, like Kavi says. We have to be honest with ourselves, authentic and vulnerable, to be able to touch our community. Catherine, asante sana. Thank you so much for being part of Tuesday Talks at 3 and for sharing with us your experiences, the things that you're doing, how you're impacting the community. Thank you, Catherine.
And thank you so much for having these conversations that need to be had to encourage our community and to impact. Thank you so much for that. And thank you for having me.
Thank you. Truly, we can all do our bit. Well, this marks the end of Motherhood May. I have thoroughly enjoyed sharing this space with women like you, Catherine, and me, and the ones who are here in the audience. Thoroughly enjoyed it. We have all owned our spaces, and in motherhood, we have embraced it. There's still so much more that we can do. I mean, I thank Alice Njambi, I thank Jackie Kea, I thank Patsy Litunya, Liza Yani, and now you, Catherine Silva. Thank you so much for making this journey of motherhood and meaning so huge like this. I can see Liz has just given us one comment before we go. There was a sale of Soko maize meal at Carrefour yesterday. It was half price. So got a few packets, not for me, and gave the security guards in my estate. Look at that. Liz,
yes.
We celebrate you.
That
you
is making an impact.
Exactly, a mother, a nurturer. Asante sana, Liz. Well, next month we take to the world of self-development. I'm going to be having a space of authors who have co-authored a book with me, and we're going to be talking in the 4 Tuesdays of June. You do not want to miss that. We will have 4 episodes of this journey. Check out our social media platforms for the details. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, guys, LMC Consultancy, and share with us your feedback on IG and Facebook. Visit our website, and my book is still there available. I have it locally. All you have to do is DM me. It's going for 1,500 shillings. I am hoping that once we launch this book, we will be having a reading. It is called Awakening Self. Ladies, let us help build one another. And until the next time, be kind to yourselves. Bye-bye now.